Final Fantasy VII Revelation just keeps sounding more ambitious the more we learn about it. From Cid's new characterization and major minigame changes to the possibility of expanding characters from the compilation, Hamaguchi has revealed a lot of interesting details lately, and honestly some of these changes are exactly what I was hoping to see. But before we get to the minigames, Cid is also getting more focused this time. Hamaguchi said, "Once players reach Rocket Town, we'll see a new side of Cid that hasn't really been shown before." And honestly, I'm interested in that, because one thing I personally felt with Cid in Rebirth is that he came up a little too cleaned up. In the original Final Fantasy VII, Cid was rough, angry, and honestly kind of hard to like at first, but that was part of what made his character interesting. He wasn't just a cool pilot. He had flaws, baggage, and a lot of frustration tied to Rocket Town. Rebirth made him way more friendly right away, and while I didn't hate that, I do feel like some of his edge was missing. So with Revelation going to Rocket Town, I'm hoping they show more of that complicated side of Cid, while still making him work for a modern audience. I'm really looking forward to seeing more of Cid's new characterization, because this is one character they really have to handle more carefully at this point. But when it comes to gameplay changes, I'm really glad the Jules Fitness minigame isn't coming back. It makes sense because we already had that challenge in Remake and Rebirth, and both times it was actually pretty difficult. So I'm okay with Revelation moving on from the squats and pull-ups. But the bigger change I'm happy about is that minigame rewards will mostly be separate from combat progression. That's something I really wish Rebirth had done. Some of those minigames were fun, but others felt like they got in the way of the experience. Space Ranger, Gears and Gambits, and 3D Brawler could be really frustrating, especially when rewards were tied to them. It can start to feel less like fun side content and more like a wall blocking your progress. So I like that Revelation seems to be making minigames more optional, with rewards like skins and customization instead of important battle progression. But I am a little worried about hard mode, because I actually love going back in Remake and Rebirth, refighting enemies, learning the fights better, and testing my builds against tougher versions of bosses. That part was fun, so I don't want Revelation to remove that challenge completely. I just hope they find the right balance. And one more interesting thing, Hamaguchi also suggested Square Enix probably isn't planning another huge remake trilogy like this anytime soon. He said they spent over 10 years developing this series of 3 AAA games, and doing anything that big again probably won't happen anytime soon. And honestly, imagine if Square Enix did remake another Final Fantasy title at this scale. While I know Final Fantasy IX was mentioned, I think the other next contender for a remake trilogy, or just being given some form of remake treatment, like remaking it into a singular game, would probably be Final Fantasy X, especially with how beloved it still is. But that's not the only thing Hamaguchi talked about. He also mentioned the possibility of DLC after Final Fantasy VII Revelation, especially if there's enough fan demand. And honestly, we've already seen Square Enix start doing this. Nero from Dirge of Cerberus wasn't just brought back in Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade. Square Enix integrated him into the remake story by making him the main villain of Yuffie's DLC. and introducing Deep Ground much earlier than in the original compilation. I'm looking forward to seeing how Final Fantasy VII Revelation handles Yuffie's unfinished business with Nero. I could see that storyline continuing during the Wutai section of the game as a possibility. For Cissnei, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth already expanded her role as an ex-Turk. She's given a new purpose in Gungaga, where she helps protect the village, has become one of its key defenders, and assists Avalanche during their time there. There are still some unanswered things surrounding Cissnei too. She can see the whispers in Rebirth, but the game never explains why. She also immediately recognizes Cloud and knows he traveled with Zack, yet she chooses to keep that information to herself. For Genesis, I see him returning more as an optional DLC boss. I feel that would be easier to integrate into the game than having to come up with a new narrative explaining why he appears. So whether it's in Final Fantasy Revelation itself or in potential DLC, I could definitely see Square Enix continuing the trend of expanding characters from the compilation, just like they've already done with Nero and Cissnei. Overall, it really feels like Final Fantasy VII Revelation is trying to bring everything together, whether it's Cid's new characterization, the changes to minigames, or the possibility of expanding compilation characters like Nero, Cissnei, and Genesis. There's a lot to look forward to. Now we just have to wait and see what Square Enix has planned.